Hello everybody, my name is Lindley Lawrence and welcome to my Hyperion Oracle products tutorial. Very excited to bring this out to you. Basically, this will take you from installing Hyperion Enterprise Performance Management, known as EPM, the latest version, Essbase 11.124, with all the components from start to finish on a Windows 2008 server, pretty much all for free. This is designed for those of you who want to expand your knowledge and learning of Hyperion products on a home server. So we're going to take you through all that. Basically, this is for those of you who have worked in corporate America, either work on Hyperion, Essbase, Cube development, or if you are a user, one who basically drills down on reports or build reports in Excel using Smartview or Essbase. Those of you who build reporting, planning, budgeting, forecasting, analysis. This tutorial is perfect for those of you who work in business intelligence, whether you're administrator, Analytic, Cube developers, and for whatever reason, if maybe you've changed jobs and you don't have access to Essbase in your current roles, this will actually allow you to install the entire suite of EPM on a home server so you can foster your growth from start to finish, from being an administrator to designing the cubes and having all the tools at home to build real cubes. And just to note one thing, this is not a trial version of EPM or Essbase or any of that stuff. This is the full deal. This is the exact thing that you would have in a corporate environment, minus the high security and the security protocols, but pretty much everything that you would have on a corporate server you can install at home, and this tutorial will cover everything. From outline maintenance to loading data into the cubes, drilling on data, pretty much everything. So everybody, we do have a disclaimer. This is for education purposes only. And down below, you can read the legal terms that Oracle has. And basically, everybody, Oracle wants you to learn. They want you to learn this stuff. And it's not easy. It's a very difficult installation. I won't lie to you. But if you follow my prescribed steps, you will be successful at this. So as a general overview, this is going to take you from selecting the PC or the server all the way to implementing EPM to Smartview installation in Excel and drill downs. We're going to go over server and PC selection. These are fancy servers, which I have. You don't need it. You can use a regular PC. Okay, here's a picture of my two Essbase servers. So one's a PC, one's a server, nothing fancy. We're going to go through acquiring Windows 2008 operating system for free and getting it on a CD. We're going to go through setting up the server, installing Windows 2008 on the server and configuring it, installing Java. We'll also go into installing Oracle 11G database installation and configuration. Last but definitely not least, finally getting Oracle EPM installed and configured. It is last because it is extremely important that all the prior steps are done in a specific order, exactly as I have prescribed in this tutorial. I cannot stress enough how important it is to do everything in this precise order, but we'll take you through it and it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, obviously our ultimate goal is to have all the Oracle components installed and configured correctly. As you can see here, I'm just going over them very, very quickly, so don't get nervous. We will go over this in more detail as we get through this tutorial. You can just see an example of some of the components. And of course, our other obvious goal is that you can have a working outline with a sample application and that you can drill down on cubes and compare it to your outline. And so we're going to get through this. Again, ladies and gentlemen, not an easy installation. There's a lot of things to do, so let's start with the basic steps. Well, obviously, you're going to need a computer, also known as a server, to host the Essbase EPM application, all its components and software. Server is just another fancy name for a machine that we are installing this on. You can use a regular PC just as long as it's free and clear. So whether using a server or a PC, It needs to be free of any software, free of any operating system. Its sole purpose is for our EPM installation. You can use a 32-bit machine or a 64-bit machine. I recommend at least 2 gigs. More is better. Hard disk, 175 gigs or more. And your hard drive needs to be formatted and clean. I'm using an old PC. I'm using an old Pentium 4 for this tutorial, and it works fine. It didn't cost any money. It's something that I've had laying around in the closet. So feel free to use that. Let me tell you, everybody, most importantly here, you need a PS2 keyboard. If you don't know what that is, it's other than a normal USB keyboard in modern days. A PS2 keyboard is the keyboard with the round circle, the green interface, and it's pretty much old school. You need it because when we're setting up the server, there's certain things in setting up the server that a USB keyboard will not work. It will just cause you frustration. After that, you can switch to a normal USB keyboard. So just make sure you have one laying around, or you can use an adapter. Very easy to find in Staples or some other store. See, here are my Essbase servers. Nothing fancy. Didn't cost me a thing. One was donated from a friend a long time ago. Not a powerful server at all. The other one is the bigger machine is a Pentium 4 computer, and it's perfect for these purposes. So you should have something laying around. Don't go spend any money to get this going. The whole idea is to do this for absolutely free. Okay, everybody. To get a copy of Windows 2008, you're going to use your everyday PC. This is not the server that we went searching in the closet or in the garage. Using your everyday PC, you're going to get a copy of Windows using the link above. For example, I'm using an iMac right here to do this. That's my everyday PC. So you're going to go to Nomi Software, or you can go to Microsoft.com and get a copy of Windows 2008 server. So here I'm using Nomi Softwares. So I'm here in their site. I'm using the 32-bit version because my Pentium 4 server, PC, wannabe server, gonna be a server, is 32 bits. If you have a 64-bit machine, use 64 bits. So here we're gonna go, so in my everyday PC, I downloaded the file. And as you can see, I'm using my Mac. You see I have my disk utility, or I have my Windows. I'm actually using Parallels on my everyday Mac, which allows you to use Windows operating system. And I'm gonna burn this onto a DVD-R, and there you go. You have a CD, and you just set it aside, and that completes that step. Okay, here we go. Now what we're gonna do, we're setting up the server. So basically, with your server, you're going to turn it on, and you need to get to the BIOS, and you have to watch out for this really quickly. As soon as you boot up the computer, within a few moments, seconds actually, you're going to need to hit F2 or the delete key. Different computers have different keys. Just keep your eyeball on the screen, and it will tell you what key you need to hit to get into setup. Setup is also the BIOS. Okay, and for those of you out there who are experts in this already, please bear with me, because there are those that this tutorial is also for who maybe need to be handheld a little bit during this. So the BIOS, is the basic operating software in the machine, and we need to change the boot order. Usually when you turn on a computer, it's looking for the hard disk drive in order to boot the operating system. Here, our operating system is on a CD-ROM. The CD-ROM should be in the CD-ROM drive of the server, and we are telling the BIOS to change the boot order, that we want it to read the CD first before anything. So do that, change the boot order to CD, and then you're going to save the BIOS and exit. And upon boot sequence, you're going to tell it to boot from the CD. Note, guys, ladies, this may not work with a USB keyboard. I could be wrong. If you have a newer machine than I do, I don't have newer machines, a USB keyboard may work. But in case it doesn't, you're going to need to switch to a PS2 keyboard, and you can use an adapter for that. So just get that going. Avoid frustration. and then proceed with the Windows installation, and then we will get on with continuing the tutorial. Okay, proceeding with the Windows Server 2008 installation on the server. Please forgive me for the cheesy video that you are about to see. Obviously, I don't have my screen capture recording software yet installed on the server, so I'm using an iPhone, so just bear with me now. This looks pretty bad, but with this, we do not have a product key for Windows 2008 server, so we're going to just use the evaluation version, which is good for about 240 days, and just follow these steps, and you're going to install Windows 2008 standard full installation. Make sure you put a tick mark next to I have selected the edition of Windows I have purchased. Just need to bypass this. You may not need to do this. For my machine, I had to format the drive. I had some stuff on it. May not be necessary for you, but if you need to, Windows will detect it and guide you through it. And we're just going to proceed with the installation. When it asks you for an administrator password, you're going to create one. Make sure you mark this down so we avoid frustrations. And then we're going to configure Windows 2008 Server specifically for EPM software. Okay, that will be the next step. All right, well, actually, I misspoke for a second. There are more steps to do before we can configure the server for EPM. Right? What we need to do right now is date and time, and do not avoid this. This is extremely important. If this isn't configured correctly, it's potential to create a huge mess. So do not underestimate the importance of setting your date and time precisely to what it actually is. Make sure the day's correct, the year is correct, and the time is correct. This is important, especially Essbase. During the installation, Essbase creates server logs, and there's a lot of log information, and timing has to be very, very key. So do that, and we're going to proceed to some other things in the server. So what we need to do now is we're going to work on the computer name. There's the default computer name, and we're going to want to change that computer name. We're going to use your name. You'll notice on during this installation I use my name, Lindley, and I call it Lindley Server. You could do the same thing. You could call it your name followed by server. Make sure you have internet. That's very, very important, because one of the things that we're going to do is we need Windows 2008 server to go through the internet and update itself, and that's going to take hours, to several hours actually. So you make sure you have a network cable plugged into the internet to your router or your whatever, your Linksys hub, and we're going to change the computer description to your name followed by server. Also, you need to change it again. You're changing computer name twice, as you can see here. Just follow these steps. And this is going to take several reboots of the computer. So you're changing the computer description and the computer name both to your name followed by server, or whatever you want to call it. It's up to you. So I did have to restart the machine, but for the brevity of this tutorial, I'm just going to skip those things and go a little faster here. You feel free to pause when you need to. Another thing we need to do, we need to download and install updates. And when you get here, you're going to turn on the automatic updating. And obviously, it's very fast in my tutorial. It's never going to be this fast in the real thing. I just fast forwarded the video and edited some major parts out, which actually take a long time. So it will take a long time. Just be patient and let it do its thing. It could take hours to do this. we made sure that it went and automatically installed Internet Explorer 8, which you do need. And right now it's installing other software that's extremely important in order to get this running. So updates are successfully installed. But again, it's a lot faster in this tutorial than it is in real life. So just bear with it. Oh, we need to add roles. If you didn't see that, you need to go in and add a role. And none of these steps can be skipped over. Okay, so we're adding web server IIS. Okay, we're adding application server. Okay, this is very, very important. This is part of our configuration for EPM. EPM absolutely needs this. And if you go through this, you will see that it's going to actually install 3 things. It threw in Windows Process Activation Service on its own. But very important, we're going to add role. When we're adding a role, we're adding 2 roles, Application Server and Web Server IIS. And then Windows automatically throws in Windows Process Activation Service. So make sure you get these roles activated and the installation is successful. Upon that is successful, you can just, if you're curious, just read through what it says there by dropping down those arrows. So with that complete, the next thing we need to do is configure the firewall. Okay, this is a security thing where we need to unlock the computer, so we are breaking all security protocols. But without this, Essbase will not install. It absolutely cannot install if you do not if you do not turn off the firewall. So turning off the firewall is important. You need to do this. So here we are in Server Manager. You'll see me go back and forth in and out of Server Manager. And here you see my name of the Server Manager. It tells you that it's Lindley Server. Now we need to configure Internet Explorer ESC settings. Okay, that's Internet Explorer Enhanced Security Configuration. You basically need to turn it off. Just follow what I'm doing here. If I went a little too fast, you can go back. Next thing we need to do, go to the Start menu, type in User Access. I'm going to do it again. So in the search, we're going to type in and then it's just type in user to get to user accounts. And you'll see we're the administrator. And where we want to go is to turn user account control on or off. With that, you see turn on user account UAC. Without this, Essbase will absolutely, EPM will not install if you have this clicked on. You will get an error and that will just cause frustration. Make sure you turn this off and you're going to restart your computer and you're going to go through the whole thing. That's why this takes time, because it's a number of steps and a number of reboots in order to get this configured. Okay, now here's some fun stuff. We have to install Java. So you can go to Google, do the term download Oracle Java, or use this direct link. Okay, and we're downloading Java. You have to do something here with internet security settings. So you're going to want to do this and just follow what I'm doing. I'm going a little fast. I fast forwarded the video, but this is Java 8U91 or 8U92. You can slow down the video if you want. Remember, my computer is a 32-bit machine, which is x86. You have to comply with Oracle's license terms, so just click that thing that you get it, you understand it. We go here, you're gonna save it. I'm saving it under Administrator Downloads. And my tutorial here is fast forwarding. It takes a lot longer than what you see here. Of course, you're going to run it. Very, very simple installation. And if you're wondering how to know if your computer is 32-bit or 64-bit, just go to Start. Then you're going to right-click on Computer and then Properties. and it's going to tell you system type, either 32-bit or 64-bit. It'll also give you your server name. So here we are, back to installing Java. It's a pretty straightforward installation. And just click next, go through this, just follow through. There's really nothing to it. If there's anything that you need to watch out for, I'll try to let you know. I definitely will let you know. Okay, it looks like Java installation is complete. Let's verify it. So I'm going to go to Control Panel and verify, and then you'll see a Java logo in Control Panel, Classic or Classic View, and you can just read this stuff, read the Java, see which update it is. Java is going to often update itself. You'll see that happen on your server from time to time. You can go into these tabs, view these tabs. You know, it's good to get familiar with this. Just go through it, see what it's about. If you're curious, I'm always curious. Just see what it does. As you know, Essbase and EPM is highly dependent on Java, so it's absolutely critical. And we're going to go to Program and Features, and you know, none of this is necessary. It's just to get an idea, just to go through the server and see where things are located. And Java is successfully installed. Okay, we'll proceed to the other steps. Okay, we're up to installing the database, the Oracle 11G database installation and configuration. We need to really pay some special attention here. You're going to set up a folder in your C drive called Win3211RG2 database _database. And then within that folder, you're going to create another folder called database. Make sure this is done correctly. Here we are extracting files. We're going to go through it. This is not the easiest installation. I actually have problems doing this sometimes. Half the time I do this, and I've done 4 implementations, and sometimes something happens where all the data doesn't get in for whatever reason it is. But you're actually going to see an example of me having an issue with this and getting it resolved. So we're going to go to the internet. You can type in Oracle 11 RG download, or you can just follow the link below to go directly to the Oracle site. You do have to, if you're not registered with Oracle, you should be by now. Everything is free. But let's just follow these steps, going through it rather quickly, and feel free to pause the video and come back. But this is pretty easy. And remember, it's Oracle 11G release 2, not Oracle 12C or the other ones. My system's 32-bit, so be cognizant of that. If you're 64-bit, use 64-bit. But what we're doing, we're downloading 2 files. And here I'm making my way through my C drive, going a little slow here. Just want to be careful. And everybody, make sure that there are no spaces in these file names. Use underscores, use whatever you want. If you have a space, it's going to cause a problem. So what I'm doing here, I'm saving the zip, I'm downloading the zip file, which is a compressed file, into the folder. It's 2 files, one of 1 and one of 2. And we are saving the compressed files, and then later on we're going to have to uncompress the files, also known as zip files. You've definitely heard this term before. So these are zip files that I'm going to do both files. Make sure we do this correctly. Save the second one into the Oracle. So I called it on my C drive C, and then this Oracle DB dump. Okay, we're just extracting both the 1 and 2 of 2 files. So these are zip files, and we are extracting them into the database folder. I actually, instead of using that extract button, I used right click. Well, during the second installation, I actually used right click, extract files. I don't think it really makes a difference because I did have an issue, and you're going to see during this installation that I had an issue with the files, whether it was due to Camtasia or some other software, or my screen capturing software causing an issue. I'm not sure what it was, but it's actually a good thing that it happened, because it may happen to you. So for now, let's just make sure we get both these zip files extracted into the database folder, that we create a database folder that's under the win3211gr2_database/database. So we make sure that you point it to the correct folder. Okay, that's very, very critical. And you know that this takes a lot of time on your computer. Here, for video purposes, I had everything fast forwarded. But we're going to proceed to the installation. I'll show you the issue that I had. Now, when you click Setup, you can left click Setup, or you can right click Run as Administrator. I did left click here. Had an issue before. Not sure if it had anything to do with that, but for good measure, you're going to right click as Run as Administrator. You're going to get that sort of CMD Windows panel that just flashes real quick. And again, my installation runs a lot faster because everything is fast forwarded. We're going to bypass this step. You do not want to, there's no need to enter an email address. So just unclick that. Unclick I want to receive security updates via my Oracle support. I'm trying to make this panel a little bit bigger so it's easier for you guys to see. So you can see the next button, there it is. Okay, so you're gonna get this warning. Just go ahead. It's not a big issue. Here we are creating and configuring a database. Well, that's obvious. Don't follow this mistake here. This is server class, okay, everybody? This is not desktop, and you're going to see that I'm going to click next, realize my mistake, go back, and click on the right thing. So this is server class. Pretty much everything in the following panels, you're going to leave on the default settings. This is advanced install. Make sure this is on advanced. I'm going to click English or whatever language you prefer. We are doing Enterprise Edition without a doubt. Make sure it's Enterprise Edition. Click Next. Everything here is, we're going to leave the defaults, okay? This would only change if it was like on a corporate server, and because obviously in a corporate world you have, you don't have everything on a C drive. You have different drives for various things. But for our purposes and simplicity, we're going to keep this on all the defaults. We are doing general purpose transaction processing. In a corporate environment, it probably would be data warehousing, depending on exactly the type of applications we're setting up. Here, you can keep these defaults to Oracle ORCL, or you can type in ORCL.yourname like I did on other installations. Make sure both of these fields match exactly. Take an iPhone picture of it. Make sure that you have this jotted down. Character set. We're going to switch that to AL32UTF8. I made a mistake here. I had to correct it after. But here, let's just make sure you got it right from the start. So character set is definitely the middle option. Don't worry, we're going to go through it again. You want to load the sample schemas. This part, you want to make sure that's clicked. File system, we want to use file system. Keep all the defaults here. Again, if it was a corporate environment, we wouldn't have that. That would be totally a different folder. Actually, nothing would be on a C drive. We're not setting up different username and passwords. Use the same password for all accounts. Make sure you jot this down. Take an iPhone picture, jot down the password. Obviously, this is going to your computer isn't going to be as fast as mine. Mine's a super fast computer. Yeah, right. Again, the videos are fast forwarded. This could take 40 minutes to an hour. So I'm really not sure how long it's going to take on your machine. So just be patient with it. This takes a lot of time to install. And, you know, pre-warned as before, this isn't going to work. We're going to have an issue. We're going to have a file that's actually missing. And I've done a few implementations, and half the time I get something like this. This indicates that a particular file is missing. So right off the back, I know there's a problem here. I have 1,680 files and 609 folders. Supposed to be 623 folders, about 1,740 files. So you might have this issue. You might not have it. You may get lucky. What I did in order to get the correct files, I use my iMac. I use my everyday PC to download the files because my iMac is super quick. There's nothing else going on it. Downloaded the files onto a zip drive, and then took that zip drive, installed in a server, and downloaded the files, and then repeated the installation, repeated the extraction. And this time you'll see that I'm doing right click. I'm extracting the files back into the folder. And if you need the files, you can always ask me. You can send an email to me. My email address, linleylawrenson@gmail.com, is down below. I can send you those files. It's not a problem. Or you can go back to Oracle, use a different computer, extract the files on your zip drive, bring that over to your computer. But again, it may work out fine for you on the first try. And it's often worked for me, but I can tell you at least 40 to 50% of my installations, configurations, and implementations of this, for whatever reason, it just didn't copy over all the files. But it's not a problem. It eventually works out. And during the setup, what I did, I click abort. It's perfectly fine. Here I'm clicking like a retard, retry. It's not a retry way. You keep clicking retry. It's not gonna just gonna agree with you and go ahead and work. It's not going to work out. So it's safe to click abort. Abort is definitely what you want to click. We're going to run as administrator this time. You're going to get this panel, this CMD-like panel. It's the Oracle Universal Installer is kicking in, and it's telling us that the Oracle database is on its way to loading. So again, we're just going to repeat these steps. It's not a desktop class. It's a server class. We're doing a single instance database installation. Advanced install. Make sure you do that. Pick your language. Definitely Enterprise Edition. Everything is pretty much the defaults here. General purpose transaction processing. You can modify that. If you modify it, make sure you record it. Make sure if you're calling it orcl.yourname, feel free to do that. We do want to create the sample schemas, the character set. Make sure you change that to AL32UTF8. We're using a database control, database management. We're not putting our email in there at all. File system. Keep that in there. Of course, obviously under a corporate environment, nothing goes on a C drive, and there are different file systems of different things. So we want to use the same password. Jot this down. Make sure you take a screenshot of this, and proceed to the Oracle installation. And this should work out pretty good. You can do a save response file if you can. Not necessary, but if you want to, you have that option of doing that. And great, it looks like it's going well. We're at 100%. Well, this is excellent news. So it's copying the database files, and this is the final part of the Oracle 11G database installation. So far, so good. Okay, we had a little hitch in the system, but that's because for whatever reason, we don't know exactly why. Didn't copy it over all the files. But you have ways. There's always another way to skin the cat, right? You can use another computer to completely download the files. My iMac is obviously faster than the server. Anyway, make sure you jot this down. You have your global database name. You need this, the database control URL, HTTPS. After the server name, that's your port number. We're going to talk about the port numbers after the EPM installation. So far, this tells you that the database is successfully installed. So this is a huge part of the EPM installation, is having the database properly installed and somewhat configured. There'll be more configurations for all this later on Okay, let's do a quick validation and test. Go to your Start menu, All Programs, and see that you have these Oracle files installed. So just briefly go through it. You're going to see various Oracle tool sets that are installed by the Oracle installation we just did. There's nothing that we're going to do here. We're just going to look. This is just for you to get familiarized as we are installing the products, that you can see what's happening. Now going to the internet, Windows Explorer, and remember that URL that we had from the other panel that you were supposed to record. You're going to want to type that into URL, and you're going to want to bookmark that as a favorite and call it Oracle Enterprise Manager 11G. Previously hopefully you recorded down your username and password. Here, another validation is to type in command. This is your Windows command, and what we're going to see, we're going to test it to see if we can get into the system DBA for SQL+. SQL+ is the database language for Oracle. So you're going to type in SQL+ space / as SYSDBA. And this is just another validation. We're going to go in as a system DBA. We'll do a lot more of this later on. And as you can see, we're successfully connected into the Oracle database, and you have your SQL prompt. More to touch upon that later on. And so far, so good. As you can see, this validates that our Oracle database 11G is working properly. Okay, everybody, I admit I went through that way too quick. There's another way to do this. Let's go to All Programs. Okay, we're going to go to the Oracle DB11G folder, and we're going to actually get to their URL right through here, Database Control URD. That will get us right to this panel, or you're going to bookmark it anyway. Right, what you see here is what database administrators are experts at setting up. They understand this sort of thing. I know most of this stuff, but you're not expected to know really any of this, but you're going to learn it. You're taking on the responsibility of being both a database administrator and everything in order to have this complete EPM suite at home. You can go through this. You're not expected to know any of this stuff. We're pretty much just looking for anything that tells us that everything is in the green, everything is okay, there are no errors, there is nothing going on, and we can go through this more in detail in another tutorial. But so far, so good. This is another indication that everything is installing very, very smoothly. So this is another milestone in the database administration and configuration. All right, great stuff. Okay, here we are. We are now installing Oracle EPM, also known as Enterprise Performance Management. So we have various URLs here. You can always go back to this, or you can see these links down below. But we're going to go into the first link, or you can do a Google search for Oracle, download Oracle EPM 1-124. That's the latest and greatest that Oracle has as of the time at the making of this video. And we're going to go to the Oracle site. You do need to be a registered user. It's free to set up. You should have already done it before. First, we're going to set up a folder. Okay, we're going to call this EPM dump. Just like we had database dump, we're going to call it Oracle EPM dump. Very important. no spaces. If you have a space in this folder name, it will not install correctly. So call it exactly like this. What we're doing here, we're under the Hyperion Performance Management BI downloads. Okay, so this is, make sure you're already signed in. You're going to accept user agreement, and here you're going to read this stuff. It's what we're going to do. We're going to be downloading these files. Okay, I have to sign in. My video's going a little fast, and as you know, I record the videos first, then I add the voiceovers. So what we're going to do, we're just like we did with the database with 11G, we are taking these zip files and we're dumping them into the database dump. And this is going to take a lot of time. It's very fast here because, again, I'm fast forwarding the video screen over here. So this is going to take a lot of time. These are very, very huge files, okay? So it's very basic. We have 4 files here. And again, I forgot to accept the user agreement. Okay, we're logged in. We accept the user agreement. We're under Hyperion Enterprise Performance Management EPM. We're accepting the license, and we're going to start downloading the files. I did file 1. I'm going to save it into the Oracle EPM dump folder. And we're just going to do that for each of the 4 files. There's going to be more than 4 files. It's going to actually come out to 6 files. And no need to open the folder when you do this. Just save it into the folder we set up called Oracle _EPM _ dump. Make sure no space in that folder name. And okay, so far we're moving along nice and smoothly. I may have forgotten a file here, but we'll go through. We want to download Oracle Essbase, and I know there's something that we forgot. We forgot to do the client installation, but we'll get to that. Here, you don't have to go in perfect order. We just have to make sure that we have all the files. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm downloading the correct file. Okay, EPM system release. Okay, client installers. We want to download this file. We saw that first. You probably were wondering why didn't we install that. Well, this is very important. We have to have the client installers folder. So far we have five zip folders that we downloaded so far, and this is going to be about 6 folders, I believe. And if you're wondering about Essbase Studio, yes, we did forget to download Essbase Studio at this point, but that was done on purpose. We just want to start off with these, and then later on in this tutorial, we're going to download Essbase Studio when we actually need it. So here we are. We have 6 zip compressed folders, okay? And you probably heard the terminology before in your corporate office that Essbase Foundation Service, Hyperion Foundation Service is key to EPM. So we're going to make sure we download them all. And there's Essbase Studio console. We're not going to download it yet. We're going to download it later on. Now, inside the Oracle EPM dump folder, we're going to set up another folder. This is actually where we are going to extract the files into, similarly to what we did with the database. Okay, we had our separate folders for the compressed files, and then we're going to extract everything into that file. So start to extract it, and as you're extracting the files, do not go for the default folder that it says here. You want to browse to the actual folder. You want to browse to the actual Oracle EPM install folder. If you just go with the default folder, it's not going to work out. So you need to navigate to the proper folder. Okay, so one by one, each of those compressed zip files, we're going to extract them, and we're going to go and properly navigate to the proper folder, which is the Oracle EPM install folder that's under Oracle EPM dump. Okay, make sure that you extract each one of these folders to the proper folder. Okay, that's very, very key, and it's going to take some time. This doesn't go as quick as what you see here. And make sure that you're using right-click extract all. That's the preferred method. So this is nothing difficult. You just have to really make sure that you actually do the exact step as I'm showing you here. A lot of people, when they extract files, they just go with the default that your computer tells you to, and it's not necessarily correct. It's not necessarily wrong, but for this purpose, when installing EPM, it needs to have all the files in the correct folder. If you get these, just replace one with the other one. It's no big deal, because some of the folders have the same file names, and you can just overwrite it. It's overwriting one with another one, so it's not a big deal. So we're proceeding on to the other folders. Now we're up to the foundation zip files. Want to correctly browse to the Oracle EPM dump and under Oracle EPM dump, Oracle EPM install. Make sure that you navigate to the proper folder and extract all the contents in there, and just take your time doing this and get them all done. Make sure you keep a good eye on what you're doing. If you're taking a break doing this, because this does take a while, make sure that you mark down where you left off, or just get it all done in one instance. Make it much easier on yourself. And if you get this, not a big deal. Copy and replace. Both files here are 712 bytes. One isn't newer than the other. Just go ahead and just go ahead and say okay. Or just click the first one. And up to the last one. Same thing. It's the same method, same thing. Nothing new here. And we're almost done. And we'll get to the fun part, which is actually installing EPM and configuring it. All right, there it is. We're all done with the extraction of all those zip files, and we'll get to installing EPM. Okay, just notice that we forgot to check one very critical thing. This has to do with setting things up early in the beginning to make sure that EPM is successful. Go into your Internet Explorer. There's something that we have to check. If it's not done, it won't work. Go to Tools. So under Internet Explorer, go to Tools. We're going to go to Internet Options. Here we want to go into the security settings, okay? And there's something we have to do in custom level. Now, the security settings here, on several installations, I had to actually make changes to this. On this particular installation, I didn't. But the installation right before this one, the whole entire EPM configuration, I had to change some of these ActiveX plugin controls. So the best thing to do is just go through this slowly and make a comparison to your server settings on this, and just that make sure that everything that you have on your server is actually exact to what you see on my screen, especially all this script ActiveX controls, stuff like that, whether it's enabled, disabled, just make sure it's exactly as you see here. Take your time, rewind this part, go through it, make sure it's right, because a lot of things that, I've done quite a few implementations and they've all been difficult, so I'm really trying to make this very, very easy for you. So this can be, so you don't have to go through the heartaches that I myself, others have gone through, because without doing this and everything else we've done before, like the UAC controls, configuring that, configuring the server time, all the stuff with allowing the server to have access, that sort of stuff. If you don't have that, the installation will not go smoothly. So just make sure you get this part done, and then after this we'll get right into the EPM installation, and that should go very, very smoothly. Well, now we're into the EPM installation, so let's go back to that Oracle EPM install folder that we had before. Make sure we're going to click on the Windows command, install tool, not install tool Java. There's plenty of install tools, so be very, very careful here. You are clicking on install tool, the Windows command. You can just click run, or you can run it as administrator, it doesn't matter. EPM is going to do some validation checks. As long as you have enough memory, enough space, which you should have, we've taken care of this in the beginning, all the validation checks are good. You can proceed with next. Leave this on the default folder. Obviously, in a corporate environment, it wouldn't be that folder. It wouldn't be the C drive. It would be something different. We're doing a new installation. And just pretty much follow through with all the defaults. This part is pretty easy. And just it's good for your knowledge to, take a look around, expand folders, see what we're installing. We're not installing every single EPM product, and we can always go back as we learn in future tutorials. We can always go back and load in plugins that we actually need at a point in time in the future. So just take your time, take a look at this. Obviously it's gonna take some time on your server to install. It's not going to be as fast as what you see here. In this part I didn't fast forward, so you can go ahead and fast forward if you wish. And it's just the way the installation is. It's going to require several reboots. That reboot that you just saw, that wasn't necessary. So that's just a server thing on my end. Well, actually, that was a reboot. This part takes forever. This takes several hours. And as you see, as it's progressing, you can see what takes the longest. You can see the various the various parts of the application that are being installed, and it's good to get an idea, to get familiarized with the terminology, whether we're doing financial reporting, Java, Essbase Studio. The Essbase Studio we talked about, we didn't install Essbase Studio client. We're installing, EPM is installing Essbase Studio administrator. Administrator is what we have on the server. Client is something else that we install separately. So don't get confused by that. Everything is complete. This is successful so far. And do not click finish. Okay, a lot of people are very, very fast to want to click finish because finish looks like the right thing to do. You want to click configure. That is very, very key. Okay, do not click finish. We need to configure this. And very important to take notes of these panels. You may want to take some iPhone photos. So here we are, we're configuring, just leave the defaults here, we're configuring for EPM System 1. And all these things, you're going to see all this terminology later on. So we're going to pay close attention to this stuff. What we're going to do here, in proceeding with the installation, we're just going to leave these default things for EPM System 1 as your Oracle instance. Let's click Next. And in this panel, we are going to need to go into Start Windows in the Search panel. We're going to click on CMD. You're going to type in CMD. Here, we're logging into Oracle, okay? Oracle database that we set up before. So you're typing in under C administrator, that should be your default. Just type exactly as you see here. We're going to log in as system DBA, and we've done this as a test before, and we're going to create a user. We're calling that user EPM_meta. Identified, anything after identified is the password. So identified by EPM_meta is also the password. We're creating the user. Now we're going to grant the user all privileges. And make sure you mark this down on a piece of paper or take a screenshot of this. We're granting all privileges to EPM_meta, and then we need to grant the system DBA to EPM meta. So just type in what you see me doing, and you should be fine. So now you're getting some experience in Oracle Database 11G. And you can exit out of that. Remember your service name. Remember we had ORCL, or in my other installations, if you called it ORCL.yourname, that's what you would enter. We wrote this down. Username is what we just set up under the command line, and the password. I don't have the password here correcting. You're not going to be able to see me change it because I fast forwarded the screen. But my username is EPM_meta. Password is EPM_meta. When we set that up in SQL Plus, anything after identified is your password. In this panel, I have a couple of exclamation points here, little warnings that says that a couple things are pending. It's nothing big to worry about. Okay, what we're doing here, we're configuring some settings. Just everything is pretty much in the default. Just make sure you have this stuff as you see here. The database is the Oracle driver thing. You may need to change that, so that's Oracle. Oh, here comes a UTF-8 haunting me again, because like I showed you, I didn't properly configure that before, but you're instructed to, but you did better. You knew to change it when I pointed it out. Here you can look at all this stuff. We're under the same port, under the same server, Oracle SID, Oracle. We have the same password for all. Everything here is just leave the default. You can record these port numbers down. If you don't, that's okay. We have another way of looking at it later on in the installation. Here we are taking care of the WebLogic domain information. Okay, you're going to create a user, an administrator password, and you're going to confirm that. Make sure you write this down. Make sure you have your your administrator uses EPM_admin. And if you're wondering what Oracle WebLogic is, it's pretty much a Java enterprise performance system. It's like a middle tier. It's part of the whole entire EPM suite of tools that allows you to do a lot of cool things. It's the basis. It's one of the basis foundations for everything that we're going to do for in future tutorials. So basically, WebLogic Server it includes all the connections that makes it possible to have many applications running, and it's sort of it's a system that allows us to get into other things. But we won't go into that explanation right now. You can look that up online, or you can view a future tutorial. So in all this right now, we're just configuring RMI ports. Everything is basically the standard stuff. So nothing really here to change, except here. Pay attention here. Remember when we installed IIS when we were setting up the server? That's here. You're going to make that change. Okay, so the web server type is Internet Information Services, IIS. Make sure you change that. For our shared services admin, make sure admin, just leave the default to admin. Make up a password. I made mine admin1 and retype that in. Mark it down. So if you don't mark it down, and I make mistakes of not marking these things down. Even sometimes I mark it down and I still don't know what the hell I marked down. So really make sure that you do that accurately, so that when it's time to log into these things, that we don't have issues. And as you can see, my configuration, my EPM system configurator is going very, very quickly here. It's not going to be that quick on your system. That's because, like I've said before, I just fast forwarded this video for the purposes of this training. So just go through the pre-configuration. Be patient. It may take some time. I'm not sure how much time it takes. Probably about half hour to 40 minutes. Could be a little bit longer. But everything, you're going to see that everything completes, because if you configured everything correctly in the beginning, you shouldn't see any errors here at all. This should go very, very smoothly. And what you can do, you can click Finish instead of Task Panel. I went into Task Panel just to demonstrate something, but you don't have to. You're going to see that we still have an item that's pending. If I expand it, you're going to see we have two things here that need to set up. It's Oracle BI and Publisher, and configure local addresses for something else. And it's something that we're really not using, and we can always add this in later on. But since we already have it, I'm just going to set up the server. But I'm probably not doing this correctly, because I know later on it's going to, when we're finished configuring everything, when we download the report, the system report, to show us what was loaded in, right, those two items are going to show up that they weren't configured correctly. And like I said, we're not going to be using much of that. Okay, so back to the installation. You can quickly review this, see that the components are installed, continue with the installation. And we're done. This completes another stage of the EPM installation, and then we'll move forward to the next parts. Okay, so what are these next parts? Well, let's see if this darn thing actually works. So, okay, let's go into the Oracle directory. Just follow with me real quickly. This is gonna be Oracle middleware user projects. Just navigate to what you see me doing: domains, EPM system, start WebLogic. This is a Windows command, okay? Here we are starting WebLogic. Now, again, I fast forwarded this stuff, so WebLogic takes time starting. I don't know, it takes about maybe a good 8 minutes to start. And this isn't the only way to start it. You can actually go through another panel in Windows. You should go through an administration panel where you can see the console and the services. That's usually how we do it, but I want you to get used to getting very familiarized with navigating to where various files are. This is probably a good method of doing it, so you can get more familiar with pretty much where everything is, because you're going to really need to know where files are for future stuff that we're going to do. Anyway, so WebLogic server starting, and when you know it's started, you'll get that final message that it confirms that it started, but there may be a few warning messages. Don't get worried about that. We're going to start another service. I know I'm going real quick, so let's navigate to Oracle middleware, user projects. We're going to go into bin. We're going to start. What we're going to do here, we're going to want to, I don't know if we're starting another service or if we're going to validate, but if you navigate to this, we're going to do another check, which is a validation. And we want to click on this start. This is going to start all the services, foundation, and all the other things that we installed. So this file, this command prompt actually starts all the services. And this takes time also. I don't know, maybe about 5 minutes to start. I just wanted to get all the services started. WebLogic wanted to get all the basic services started so that we can actually validate. We're going to click on a validation file to make sure that everything is up and running. Then we'll see if everything's installed correctly. We're going to run this report. So far, it looks like WebLogic server is successfully started. You're going to want to bookmark this URL. Localhost is either you can type in localhost or you can type in the name of the server. We already established that we would call the server after your name. So just copy this, bookmark that in your favorites, appropriately name it to Oracle WebLogic Administration, or it should do it for you. And before, we went and did this before, but it didn't work because I didn't wait for WebLogic to fully start. So this confirms that WebLogic server is started. It's okay. We don't have any errors. If you want to learn more about WebLogic, you can Google it, or you could go through these panels, get used to it, and read up what it's about. What we're doing here, and I know I went a little fast, we just navigate to this Oracle middleware user projects EPM system 1 bin and click on the validation file. You're going to see the validation window near the bottom. Okay, so you want to click on validate, and that's going to kick off this program that's going to do exactly as its title. It's going to validate that all the components are installed correctly. And you're going to see that BI publisher that we talked about not wanting to install, that's probably going to be the only thing flagged as a component that wasn't installed correctly, but we're not worried about that. So if you didn't do the BI publisher as I recommend in the other thing, don't worry, you'll get all thumbs up in the green. You're perfectly okay. So here's our validation file, and everything is installed correctly except for the BI publisher, and that's not a problem. All the critical components are installed correctly. And if this is a great reference sheet to get the port numbers and the URLs for some of the services, so you're going to want to bookmark this. Definitely have it saved as a favorite. Okay, great. This installation is going very well. Now it's time to download Essbase Studio. Essbase Studio is pretty much, it's an environment that allows us to build applications and administer applications. Prior to Essbase Studio was Essbase Integration Services, which prior to this release, Oracle got rid of that and replaced it by Essbase Studio. It's definitely required for us to build applications, which we will go over in another tutorial. But here we're going to download Essbase Studio, so follow the URL that's also down below, or you can just search for it. You're going to log into Oracle. Definitely by this time you are you have to be a registered user, or else it's not going to work. I keep forgetting my passwords. That's why I want you to jot down passwords for everything, because to make it easier. And so let's just save Essbase Studio. I don't believe it's not a zip file. I believe this is very, very simple. So I'm just going to throw it into my Oracle EPM dump folder. And remember, everybody, this is Essbase Studio Console. Do not confuse with admin. We already downloaded admin when we downloaded and implemented Oracle Hyperion EPM module. So this is one file, nothing, it's not a zip file, nothing to be extracted or anything like that. This is simple, so just go ahead and do this part. And when you have the opportunity to run it, just go ahead and run it. Or you can do this, open the folder, and you'll see that it is one application. So just go ahead, install Shield comes on, and this is a seamless installation. There really isn't anything to set up. The configuration and everything, that will be in another tutorial. Okay, and I don't know how long it really takes in real life to install. It's a lot longer than that, but it's not too bad. So we're done with that. Now we're going to get to the next steps. Just follow me here. Go to the Oracle folder, middleware, user projects. I just want to demonstrate something to EPM System 1. The Essbase server. This is what we're going into right now. This is where the EPM system stores our applications. As you can see, the folder is empty. So we're going to load our basic application and just follow this. And this is not really the prescribed method to load in or build applications. It's using Essbase Studio. But the purpose of this part of the tutorial is to get you familiarized with the filing system. So in that folder we just went to, so what we're doing right now, we're going to build a sample application. So we can see an outline, we can view the data, well, we can load the data, view the outline, and then after we load the data, we can view the data in Excel. And that's another prerequisite of this. So let's log into the Essbase Administration Services console, and you know your password. My password is admin. My password is admin1. So here I'm going to go into the administration panel for Essbase services. So far, so good. And I'm going to show you how we're going to go through the steps of how we bring in a sample application. I'm going to make sure that the services are started. And we're going to create an application. We're creating a block storage application for this test. And you saw that folder was empty where we store the apps. Well, after I create this application name, which I'm calling sample, we're going to see that what the application is doing right now. It's actually creating that file, and it's going to place it in that folder. So here we're creating the application name sample, and then after we're going to create the database for that application. So here we have sample, and if we are looking for an outline, we're not going to get one. So now you see how Essbase created, it populated that folder that was empty, our app folder. It was empty before. Now we created the sample folder within the app folder. So far, that's good. And this is a good basis to understand the filing system. I'm going to go to Google. My installation came with the sample program, or I may have had to have downloaded it. I actually don't remember. Other installations and implementations of Essbase have different versions have included samples. This one really doesn't. So we're going to go back to Essbase. I'm going to show you how to do this. We're in the Oracle website. We're going to save the basic application, which is called demo. And since I already have it installed, I'm not going to extract it, but you have to extract it. But I'm just going over the steps what you would do. So I have a folder called EPM application samples, and the file is demo basic 44359. As you see, I already have it. It's a zip folder. I'm going to click on that zip folder and I'm going to extract it. So you see what I'm doing? I'm not going to, well, I can click extract all, but I'm not going to follow through with it. Remember, do not go with the default extract folder. Always browse, go back into EPM application samples, and this is where I would extract my files. But I'm not going to go with it because I already have it. But you may need to do that. Now, I'm going to need to create the database. I don't know if you can see that. I didn't magnify this part. So we're going to create the database name. So the application is sample. The database name, we're just going to call it basic. And then you hit OK. And type in your username and password. Mine is admin. My password admin1, but I always seem to get it wrong because I have different servers and it's just hard to remember all these passwords. Okay, great. So you see we have the basic database completed. Now we're going to click on the outline. So let's see if we actually get an outline. We shouldn't. We didn't do anything for the outline. The outline should be blank. Okay, so we have a basic outline, and that's a good sign. But what we want to do, we want to get the real outline. So this will make sense as we go through the file system. Oracle, middleware, EPM, I'm sorry, user projects, EPM system 1. Go to the Essbase server, Essbase server 1. Go to the app folder. Now we have stuff in the app folder. Now when we click on basic, you'll see that the basic.otl file, look, it's 1 kilobytes. That's not much of an outline. So at least we have an outline here, but there's nothing in it. So we're going to go get the real outline that I have saved in my C drive where we have our EPM application samples. We're going to go to sample basic, and we have an outline here. You see the basic outline is 3 kilobytes. So there's a little bit more meat in this file. So let's take a copy of that. Well, I was going to try to open it, but you can't open it. Don't do that. Let's take a copy, and let's bring it back into our Essbase server file system. So I wanted to paste it, but don't paste it. Let's rename the basic one as basic original, so we just have a backup. Always do that. It's always good measure, whether you're dealing with other folders that you're modifying. Always a good measure to call it original, and then if you're especially if you're experimenting, it's always good to do that. So I'm going to call the one that's 1 kilobytes, that's really nothing, I'm going to call it original, and then I'm going to paste in the new basic outline. As you can see, it's 3 kilobytes. So when we go back to Essbase Administrative Services, we should have a real outline. And awesome, there it is. Okay, this is good news. We're having fun doing this. I hope you're not doing this on a Friday night. You should be out having fun. But I'll save those comments for another tutorial. Okay, so let's proceed on to onto some other stuff here, and you can see that we have the data folder. Also, we're going to need that for later. We're going to work on that now. You can see this data folder has a lot of meat in it. This is all the data, all the numbers, dimensions, everything you need. This is all the meat and potatoes of the application. So we're going to load the data, and we're going to have a small little issue, which is a good thing. It's always good to have small issues so you can learn how to import data correctly. So importing data, we're doing a data load. You probably have experience doing this. We're not doing a SQL file. This is a simple data load. We're going to find the data load. We're not doing a rules file, nothing like that. Those are for other tutorials. I have my file system and I have my Essbase server. Okay, I like to. You can get the file. You can choose whichever way you want to do it. I like to use. Sometimes I'll use the file system. Sometimes I'll use the Essbase server. So not to confuse you. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go get the data file, and I'm just going to copy it over and bring it over to I believe the. So here I'm just opening it up because we can view this as a text file. So as you can see, obviously this looks like a store that sells televisions, VCR, cameras, those sort of products. And there's data in there, there's numbers, so that's a good thing. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to bring it, I believe I'm going to bring it into my file, the Essbase file system. Yes, that's where we're putting it. Okay, so we go to load the data, and there it is. Now you can do this the other way. You can do this through the file system, not a big deal. Just let's load the data. Click OK. Do not click insert. Okay, we have an error. That's an error. That's a date format error, 1013003, because that application is old. So we're going to go into properties. You see the date format? It's year, month, date, day. Just by clicking it once, it's going to go to the proper format. So make sure it's month, day, year, okay? You may not have to do this for other applications, just that basic application is pretty old, and that was the format that it was back then. So we're going into properties. We're going to make sure that we are on month, day, year. And if you have experience with Essbase, all of this should be familiar. If you have administrative experience, for those of you who basically just drill down reports, this is an excellent tool. This is an excellent thing to have at home in order to learn how the outlines and the data that you are working on, how it is related. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to reload the data after changing the month because we had an error. And the object is to have this tell us it's successful. So let's just reload that data. Okay, excellent. That's good news. This is what you want to see. We have data, there's kilobytes, and we have success as the status. You don't really have to click verify. Save does a verification, but you can do, it's up to you. You can do verify and then save, or you can just click save. Okay, let's close this. And we need to view some of this data. So now we have an outline. We loaded the data, but we didn't view the data. Now we need to get the Excel plugin, and we're using Smartview now. There's no more Essbase. There's no more Essbase Excel plugin. It's Smartview. Smartview is the same thing as the Essbase Excel plugin. It's just a lot better. If you're used to using the Essbase plugin for Excel, Smartview is not going to be an issue at all. So once again, let's go back to the Oracle website, log in. You're probably still logged in, and we're going to download Oracle Smartview for Office. Now, when it comes to Microsoft Office Excel, that's up to you. Hopefully you have a copy of that, and you can get that installed on your server. But if you have a PC, if it's already on your PC, in another tutorial we will go over using your everyday PC to log into the server. But you can get a copy of Excel and install it on the server. I'm gonna do that very briefly in this tutorial. But let's go back to installing Smartview. Smartview is a file that needs to be extracted. This is a zip file. So I'm putting everything in Oracle EPM dump. And as you can see, the file is svc 1125600.zip. Okay, excellent. So let's open that folder. Okay, we have it's a compressed folder, and we need to, of course, extract it. I'm going to click extract all. Do not click the default. Okay, you need to browse. We're going to go back to see. We're going to have to create a folder also. Remember, we're in Oracle EPM dump where we keep everything. Everything needs to be. It needs to be so. Make a new folder. Call this Smartview install. Make sure you have that underscore. Do not put any spaces. Okay, so we are extracting into that folder. Be very, very cognizant of this. Do not rush this. And then you're going to go to the Smartview install folder where we extracted the file. And here's where we have the file. You're going to click on the application, and Install Shield will start to install Smartview. And just to note, what we did before with the outline going into the file system, that's not how we're going to create applications in the future. We're going to use Essbase Studio Console to do that. I just wanted to have you get familiarized with the files, because there are instances where you need to go into the file system and do things, either because something needs to be diagnosed or something's broken. So it's good to really get familiar. Okay, so moving along, everything's going great here. Now, what I'm doing here, this is really not really part of the tutorial. I'm just setting up. I'm just downloading a copy of Microsoft Office into my server, and of course, it really doesn't go this quick. But since it's already in here, I'm not going to edit this part out. But it's here to give you your prescribed steps. Definitely a step in getting the server complete is installing Microsoft Office Professional. Now, this isn't really something we do in the real corporate world. What we have the server just has all the EPM Foundation services and all the Essbase Oracle software and databases, or the databases may be on a separate server. But we never install Excel on our servers. I've seen it. We've done it. We've had there's nothing wrong with doing it. You can do it. It's optional, but obviously in the real corporate world, you're using your PC at your desk in your office with Excel already installed to connect to the server, which is obviously in a different building or in a different room. So anyway, we're in Excel. Let's set this up. Let's go to the panel. And I know I'm going a little quick here, but here's the URL. And if you didn't know what the URL is, it's actually included, that URL with the port 80, it's actually included in that diagnostic validation sheet that we had. But you don't really need to go back there because I'm giving it to you. So in Excel, if you're already complete with installing Excel, you're just going to follow these steps. Not really difficult at all. Here we're making a connection into the server. And you might have to rewind and go back and look at that because I went a little quick, but we were in the options panel, which is in the main panel, options a little bit over to your right under the review button, and we set up the connection. And here you can see our application basic. This is awesome. This is excellent news. If you are up to this point, congratulations. You have completed the installation from start to finish. You have pretty much everything, the basic tools, the foundation of EPM in order to start to build applications, and a lot of software is installed in your server. I mean, you know, these files are huge. I'm just going here through the outline, testing it. If you have Essbase experience, this should be relatively simple for you. Most of you probably already have Smartview experience, so you should be familiar with formatting the data, moving the dimensions around, the data around. You should be familiar with doing pivot tables on here, not an Excel pivot table, but a pivoting the data around. Let's compare it to the outline. So this is excellent. This is really, really good. And if you're successful, I'm very, very happy for you, because there's a lot more work to do. There's a lot more learning, a lot more tutorials to go through. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to thank all of you for your comments. If there's any help that you need, please feel free. I want you to be successful at this. Please feel free to contact me. My email address is down below. It's Linley Laurencon, LINLEY LAURENCON I'm a pretty much fast responder. I want you to be successful at this. And if you got through this, that is awesome. If not, you know, there could be a valid reason. Maybe you missed a step, but there's always a way to go back and correct something. So excellent. See you in the next tutorial.